Hey guys, this is Tony Cardwell doing a video review, another one for ACRN Media. This week on the docket, we got new Foxygen and Star Power. So Foxygen is a San Francisco-based duo, like punk, garage, retro. They just have a bunch of different influences. They're all over the place. That's why I really like them, actually. So I became aware of them last year with their record, We Are the 21st Century Ambassadors of Peace and Magic. Really dug that record. I went back in their discography, found about Take the Kids Off Broadway, dug that a lot too. So when this album was announced, I got really stoked, and it didn't really disappoint. Because it kind of actually disappointed a bit. First things first, the record is a double LP, so that means you're getting 2 records for the price of 1. Now, that's not a bad thing, but listening to it back and back, that's 24 songs. That's almost an hour and 30 minutes of content. I got a little burnt out about midway through the 3rd act, but I mean, you may not. It's just different. But the record is very long, so keep that in mind while listening to this. So I'm just going to go through the record, Ellipsis and Star Power. I feel like it's split up into about 3 different acts. The first one being the first 5 tracks on this LP. The first 5 tracks are superb. I can't give them enough praise. They're magical. Like if Walt Disney were to write a Foxygen record, this is what it would be. The one I really want to touch base upon is actually the first single off this LP. How Can You Really? It sounds just like Saw the Light by Todd Rundgren, and I love it. There's a piano in there. There's some guitar going on in there. They're singing with like this really low, it's like falsetto, but it's not, and it's really subdued, but you can still hear it, and it's just beautiful. Follow after that, there's a song called Could Have Been My Love, which is just, again, it's just immaculate. Just the way they're singing, it's like, could have been my love. And it just sounds like that one Redbone song that was in Guardians of the Galaxy this year, but it's a lot more slower than that. It's just, the first 5 tracks on this LP are just amazing, and they're beautiful. Followed up with another one called Cosmic Vibrations, which basically sounds like if the Rolling Stones redid the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations, it would be Cosmic Vibrations. Just has like a really Keith Richards-y guitar. It's just, again, it's really good. Followed after that is another love song called You and I, and it just sounds a lot like 70s rock radio, and that's a thing that I feel like Foxygen's trying to get across on this record. They're trying to bring back this 70s radio revival, because near the end of Cosmic Vibrations, there's like this radio static, and you can hear different like tunings of the radio. All the songs flow so well together, and it just sounds like you're listening to a stream. It's very different for Foxygen to do this kind of like radio stream thing, but then again, I'm so glad that they did it, because it's so fresh, it's so different, and it's something you haven't really heard, and it's something that I'm glad I did hear, because it just brought this record to a whole different level. The second act, I thought the second act was superb, much better than the first one, though the first one is really good. The second act I called the Star Power series. It's basically one whole song chopped into 4 different bits, each at about 2 to 3 minutes at length. There's one that's like 4 to 5, but that's about the longest it gets, and the songs just flow so well together, but they all have different tastes. For example, the second Star Power song, it's called Star Power Night. It's like classic Rolling Stones and kind of like Iggy Pop, because it's kind of punk, and it just sounds really, really well. But then after that, it flows right into this, my personal favorite in the Star Power series, Star Power 3, What Are We Good For? Which opens up into this harmony about a minute in, and it's like, what are we good for? And it just sounds amazing. And then it ends with Star Power 4, which is a great way to end it out. It's like, ooh, and it's just a very slow, like, ooh, and it just sounds like the beginning of Knocking on Heaven's Door, kind of. That's kind of a cop-out, but it sounds like that. So the second act, like, it's superb. The production value on this is really high. The same can be said for the first act, which is different than what Foxygen has done. Usually they're very lo-fi. They're very just like low production value, very archaic in the sense that they sound very classic. Whereas here, they sound classic still, but it's more like classic pop. The production value is higher. It just sounds like something you would actually hear on the radio, and they come across with that. It doesn't sound like the Rolling Stones like they used to. It doesn't sound like Frank Zappa. It sounds like the pop. It sounds like Fleetwood Mac. It sounds like Todd Rundgren. It sounds like the bands you would hear if you listened to 70s radio if you were alive then. So the third act, I feel like it kind of falls off a bit. There are two songs that stick out like a sore thumb. Wally's Farm, which is just this weird, synthetic, just weird and strange thing. It's kind of gross, actually. Like, imagine Napoleon Dynamite soundtrack where it's just, it's very chirpy and chippy, and it's just very synthetic. Imagine that if it was 10 times darker. Like if Napoleon Dynamite tried to kill Pedro, that would be playing in the background. Wally's Farm is just so weird. And the song Cold Winter / Freedom, it's two songs split into one, but it's very, very, the beginning, Cold Winter, is very, very noisy. A lot of feedback from the guitar, a lot of feedback from the bass, just a lot of screeches. And it's really irritating, actually. And luckily, near the end, when it opens up to Freedom, you can hear that Keith Richards guitar again. It just sounds better, and like, thank God, because that was awful. But like the third act, not nearly as bad as what I'm making it out to be. There are definitely some really bright spots. For example, the song 666. It's not a devil song. It basically just sounds like Foxygen's playing King's Cup. They're like, 2 is you, 3 is me, 4 is the floor. And it's classic Foxygen in the fact that it's very low res. It's very like lo-fi. You can hear the guitar. The vocals are kind of subdued. It's very classic, and it harkens back to classic Foxygen, and I really appreciate that. Another good one, right after the Star Power series, we have I Don't Have Anything / The Gate. That's another double song split into, like, pulled into one. It's very acoustic. It sounds really well. I really enjoyed that one. Another good one is Everyone Needs Love. It's like one of the ending tracks on the double LP. It's just, again, it's very beautiful. It just sounds like Could Have Been My Love. It's acoustic. It's just beautiful. The production value is lower than like the earlier songs, but it still sounds really good. Those are the bright spots in the third act. The rest of it's kind of filler, but the first 9 songs are immaculate. So all in all, I gave Foxygen's new record, Ellipsis and Star Power, a 7 out of 10. I really enjoyed the first 9 tracks. Like I said, they are superb. They're high production value, really classic sounding. They just sound so different and yet so similar, and I really enjoyed them. The third act, like I said, not the best. Still some high points in there. Still some songs that could go along with the first and second act, but they didn't really vibe. I understand where Foxygen's coming from. They're trying new things, and that's a-okay. Just not my cup of tea. It didn't really sound all that well. It didn't flow with the record. It didn't flow with this radio vibe they're going for. So yeah, 7 out of 10, pretty good score. If you like this, you can read the rest of our music reviews on ACRN.com. We got content coming out all the time. If you liked me, you can read my personal reviews. You can finish reading the written review for this Foxygen record. So yeah, just keep it tuned here to ACRN.com.